Is everyone a bit weird like me when it comes to the shoes that they're going to wear in an upcoming running event? I've got a half marathon coming up in 2 weeks in Melbourne and I have got absolutely no idea which shoes I'm going to wear. I've actually still got a selection of 4 to choose from, but today I'm going to get to the bottom of that and decide on one shoe for my event. I thought I'd bring you along with me to go through the process. Maybe it'll help when it's your turn to do the same thing. So let's do something a little bit different. Let's get out of my place and go for a run. Okay, I've arrived at the running spot. What I've done is I've found a circuit, a nice circuit by the water, where I can do 2-kilometer laps in particular pairs of shoes. I've brought 4 pairs of shoes and I'm going to quickly explain each one, what it is that I love about them and also what it is that I'm concerned about. So the first shoe that I'm going to test is the Ning Feidian Challenger 6. It's a shoe that I haven't had for long. I've only had it for about 3 weeks. I've only run about 30 kilometers in it, and I think even when I say 30 kilometers, that's an exaggeration. It's probably closer to 22 to 25 kilometers. I believe that it's intended as a fast training shoe. It has 2 different layers of foam, a softer foam above a firmer foam, very similar to the ASICS Metaspeed Edge. It has a carbon plate, which you can see down here. It has spectacular grip across the entire outsole, and the racing upper is really high quality and incredibly breathable. The problem is that I haven't tested it enough, and when I'm going into an event, particularly half marathon or full marathon distance, I want to know that I can trust that shoe. That is the Ning Feidian Challenger 6. The next shoe I'm testing is one that I do have a long history with, the Deviate Nitro Elite 4. I love everything about this shoe. What are my concerns then? I guess it's that it's just a very firm ride. That works well for me in almost every situation, but I do wonder if I get to those last 2 or 3 kilometers of a half marathon, am I going to want a little bit of softness beneath my feet? This is one of those shoes that I think I could confidently go into the half marathon wearing, knowing that I'll do a pretty good time and that my feet will be fairly well taken care of throughout the entire event. Shoe number 3, and this will be no surprise to any of you, is the ASICS Metaspeed Edge. Over the last year or 2, I have deeply fallen in love with this shoe. I used to be a Metaspeed Sky guy, but as my ankle injury has been becoming more of a problem, I've just found the Skies really difficult to run in because of their incredible instability, and these shoes have taken over. I love just about everything about them, and I would happily go into a half marathon or a full marathon wearing these shoes. So why do I have to test them? Because their incredible sense of comfort also, for me, makes them feel a tiny bit slow. Now, they are not slow. They are anything but slow, but because they're so comfortable and because they're a little bit soft, probably softer than any other shoes in this test, they do feel a little bit slower. And so what I want to do today is just test that out, do a couple of fast legs, and just really convince myself that these shoes are fast enough. Why am I obsessed with pace? I mean, well, that's a dumb question. We're all obsessed with pace, right? But this, I think, will be my last fast half marathon because of this ankle injury I have and the fact that it's not getting better in a hurry. I think any half marathons and full marathons I do from now on, I might have to be running them at a more controlled pace because I have to start behaving more sensibly with my ankle injury. But this half marathon in Melbourne that I've got coming up in 2 weeks, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind and try and get a really good time. I think this is probably one of the top 2 shoes in my list right now. And the other shoe in my current top 2 list for this event is, of course, the Puma Fast R3. The only challenge I have with the Fast R3 is the kind of obvious one, is that at the end of a long distance run in the R3s, yes, you do it fast, yes, you do it in a good time, but at the end, your calf muscles do feel a little bit knocked around, a little bit bashed up, and that's for the obvious reason that you really do need to stay up on your forefoot. So my concern here is that if I'm doing the half marathon at race pace, if I'm sticking to a very fast pace for me for the entire event, will my legs feel so bashed to death by the last few kilometers that I will actually end up slowing down. Now, I can't test that today because my training run is only 16 kilometers and I'm going to wear 4 different shoes during that training run. But what I can do is do a couple of very fast legs in these shoes and just have a little bit of a think about how my legs are feeling and how they will feel on race day, and just figure out whether I'm confident enough to wear these shoes into the event. So that's what I am doing. I am testing today these 4 shoes to figure out which ones are going to be on my feet at the Melbourne Half Marathon 2 weeks from now. And for me, as I said, it is a pretty important half marathon. It's the last fast half marathon that I might ever be running, and so I want to run it well. Anyway, I'll tell you about the results after we're done. All right, that's it. 8 kilometers down, 2 kilometers each in 4 different pairs of shoes, and I have made a decision. But first of all, what I'm going to do is change back into my Ning Feidian Challenger 6s so that I can spend the rest of my 8 kilometers of this run in these shoes to get them worn in a little bit more. Then I'm going to hop in the car and let you know what my decision is, because it's just too cold out here. I'll see you at the end of the run. Okay, so that's 16 kilometers done. It wasn't quite as comfortable as I thought. I think possibly because the first 4 sets of 2 kilometers I did quite fast in 4 different pairs of shoes for the test. Then, second 8 kilometers, it was very, very windy and it felt like the entire run was into the wind, but it's done and it went well, and that's fine. So, decision made. I came out today with the hope of deciding on which pair of shoes I'm going to wear in 2 weekends' time at the Melbourne Half Marathon. And I have done that. Well, actually what I've done is decided that there are 2 shoes that I could possibly wear depending on how I feel. Let me explain. So the first pair of shoes I wore were the Ning Feidian Challenger 6s. They were a pretty immediate no, not because they're a bad shoe, actually they're a spectacular shoe, but because I'm simply not familiar enough with them. I haven't run enough in them. I don't know how I will go over a 21 kilometer distance, and it's too late for me to decide. So I wore these for most of the run today, and they were wonderful. They were fantastic, but they are off the list for the Melbourne Half Marathon. The next shoe that I tried was the Deviate Nitro Elite 4, an all-time favorite of mine, and unfortunately this one has also been taken off the list. Not for any negative reason, but just because the other 2 shoes outperform it in other ways, which suit my goals for this particular half marathon. I think that this pair of shoes will join me in a lot of half marathons coming up, but this particular one, because I am going for pace above all else, there is one other shoe that will do that better in this list. So unfortunately for the Deviate Nitro Elite 4s, these all-time favorites are off the list for now. Then we go to the ASICS Metaspeed Edge, which felt quite spongy after I put them on immediately coming out of the Deviate Nitro Elite 4s, which are a lot firmer, but they are incredibly comfortable, they're very, very fast, and these are one of the 2 pairs of shoes I am taking to Melbourne with me. I am going to wear these during the half marathon if my ankle is not feeling as good as it possibly can the night before the event, because I know, number 1, they will carry me at a really good pace throughout the entire event, and number 2, they will look after my ankle better than most of these other shoes. So together, that makes a great choice for this particular event. And finally, if my ankle is feeling really good the night before the event, then my choice of weapon is going to be the Puma Fast R3, simply because it is the most effortlessly fast shoe in this collection. It really is a spectacular shoe that makes it easy for me to move at a pace quicker than I would usually move. So anyway, this is my feel-good choice for the Melbourne Half Marathon in a couple of weeks' time. This is my feel-not-so-good choice, depending on how my ankle feels. I will let you know how it went after the event. Please do like and subscribe so you don't miss out on further updates and shoe reviews. I will see you next time. Run well.